National Intelligence Security Charge. Does anybody know what the that mean? The detective looked me in the eye and he said, Johnny, do you know where North Korea is? I said, it's the dumbass guy, like, north of here? Like straight?
Johnny Somali, the man who turned chaos into a brand and outrage into a paycheck. For years, he's been the internet's resident agent of anarchy, harassing strangers, insulting entire cultures, and pushing the boundaries of what free speech really means, all in the name of content. But now, the walls are closing in. From being banned in multiple countries, hunted by angry locals, arrested for harassment, and slapped with lawsuits, Johnny's career isn't just on the decline. It's in full-on freefall. And just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, well, it did. So how did the guy who thought he was untouchable go from live streaming every moment of his life to hiding from cameras? And the law? Let's break it down. Before he was the internet's favorite villain, Johnny Somali was just a kid from Ohio with a dream to be seen. He started off small, basic videos with an old GoPro, no real story, no big personality. Just a young guy pointing a camera at his life. But when that didn't work, he took the shortcut. He looked at the most controversial creators online, people like Ice Poseidon and other IRL streamers, and decided to follow their playbook. Loud, confrontational, disruptive content that guaranteed attention. It started with harmless trolling, but quickly escalated. The more offensive he got, the bigger the audience grew. Soon, controversy wasn't just part of his brand, it was the brand. And here's the thing, when you build a career on pushing limits, you eventually run out of limits to push. And that's when you start breaking them. Johnny's streams became a highlight reel of public harassment and cultural disrespect. In Israel, he projected images of controversial figures at sacred sites while hurling insults. In Japan, he disrupted public transport and mocked national tragedies. In South Korea, he danced provocatively on monuments dedicated to wartime victims. Every time, the cycle was the same. Outrage, more views, more donations, and zero accountability. Johnny would shrug it off, crack a smug joke, and move on to the next target. But the thing about poking bears in every country you visit, eventually, one of them bites back. South Korea was where things really started to unravel. It wasn't just one incident, it was everything. From insulting statues honoring wartime victims, to harassing locals in the streets, to making inappropriate comments about young girls on stream.
They say the National Intelligence Service is gonna come get me. Tell them come find me, I ain't scared of them. Shout out North Korea. Shout out Pyongyang. Shout out Kim Jong-un. That's my till the day I die.
The backlash was unlike anything he'd seen before. Koreans didn't just criticize him online, they actively tracked him down in real life. His equipment was stolen, he was assaulted, and a bounty was even placed on information about his location.
Freedom of speech does not protect you praising North Korean regime or Kim Jong-un, the North Korean leader. North Korea, Kim Jong-un, yeah, you will go to prison for that. Yeah, that's a very strict law in Korea, and we still have that law, active law.
By the time he left South Korea, he had no gear, no safe place to stream, and no allies.
No, not dope, no. Japan owns the island. I'm telling y'all, Japan owns that island. And Japan come back and take Korea. This my message to the judge. This my message to the prosecution. If y'all don't let me free, Donald Trump gonna let me free. I'm gonna tell y'all that right now. When Johnny Somali runs for party president.
But instead of learning his lesson, Johnny did what Johnny always does. He doubled down. Japan was supposed to be his comeback. Instead, it became one of his biggest humiliations. On his first day, he boarded a packed rush hour train and started screaming nonsense. When a fellow passenger, a Korean American, finally snapped and confronted him, the clip went viral instantly. From there, it only got worse. He harassed pedestrians, played missile alert sirens in public restaurants, and mocked Japanese history. To the Japanese public, Johnny wasn't just an annoying tourist. He was a symbol of everything they hated about disrespectful foreigners. The patience Japan is known for, gone. Within days, Johnny was arrested for obstruction of business. The fine was small, about $1,400, but the punishment was massive. Permanent deportation and a lifetime entry ban.
Is a new charge of obstruction of business. We have a fourth charge of obstruction of business. Dug himself low, and this is all to blame for himself. If he took accountability, if he said he was sorry, if he did an apology, if he paid the people back, if he admitted his guilt, we would not be where we're at today.
For a man whose entire career relied on traveling to cause chaos, Japan closing its doors was more than just a ban. It was a career blow. After Japan, Johnny went quiet for a while. No streams, no big stunts. But that silence didn't last. Back in the US, he returned to his old habits, this time targeting Asian American neighborhoods. He hurled racial slurs, mocked Muslim women in markets, and continued filming strangers without consent. The difference now? The FBI was watching. In November 2023, Johnny was arrested in Las Vegas on federal charges, including ethnic discrimination and harassment. His equipment was seized, his bail denied, and for the first time, Johnny Somali couldn't just turn the camera back on and keep going. You'd think being in a federal detention center would be the end of the story, but nope. Somehow, the mess kept going. While awaiting trial, past clips of his behavior resurfaced, including deepfake harassment of other streamers, physical altercations in public, and interactions with minors that had many questioning his boundaries. Platforms that once tolerated him permanently banned his accounts. Even among other controversial streamers, his name became toxic. And here's the kicker. In South Korea, the charges against him still stand. Even if he somehow avoids US prison time, he's banned from leaving the country until his next court date in August 2025. For years, IRL streamers have been walking this fine line between edgy entertainment and outright harassment. And Johnny, well, he didn't just cross that line, he sprinted past it with a megaphone. Now, governments are taking notice. Laws around deepfakes are tightening. Countries are considering banning streamers who cause trouble abroad. And the idea of a digital passport, tracking your online behavior like a criminal record, is starting to sound less like sci-fi and more like reality. Johnny Somali thought he was untouchable, that he could insult anyone, anywhere, and hide behind the "it's just content" excuse. But here's the truth. In 2025, people, and entire countries, aren't playing that game anymore. Now, instead of walking into a new city with a camera, Johnny is sitting in a detention cell, facing years in prison, banned from the platforms that once made him rich.
Remember, the default was about 2 years? Now it's 4. The aggravated minimum, which I think is very possible, is 8 years and 4.5 months. Think about that, people. A minimum of 8 years and 4.5 months. That cannot be more wonderful. That cannot be more apt punishment for a Johnny Somali if he gets 8 years in a Korean prison.
From Ohio kid with a dream, to international menace, to cautionary tale. And maybe that's how this story has to end. Not with a redemption arc or a public apology tour, but with a warning. Because for every streamer who thinks outrage equals success, Johnny Somali's downfall is proof that the internet might make you famous. But the real world can still take it all away. So, what do you think? Is this just karma finally catching up, or did Johnny Somali's audience play a part in creating this monster? Drop your thoughts below. And hey, if you want more deep dives into internet culture's wildest train wrecks, you know what to do.